Good evening and welcome to my stream for this week. This week we'll be doing something a little bit different. First of all, we're not drawing anime characters. We are drawing my D&D character Belris Thistlebottom. And it's gonna be a bit more exploratory, a bit less structured than usual because as you can see, this is not Fire Alpaca. This is Clip Studio Paint, which I hope, honestly, to get more familiar with. I have a sheet with doodles, including 3 drawings of Belris and 1 of Belris and Aspen, who is the D&D character of a friend of mine. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's just see which brushes we like best, and then kind of go from there with our line art. I'm going to be lining and coloring each of these illustrations separately so I can put them on different slides and different images so I can kind of do whatever with them later. So yeah, that's what we are planning to do. I have used Clip Studio Paint in the past, but that was usually just for, as you can see, the manga resources. I have this fanfic that I illustrated, and then rather than coloring, I decided to use these nice manga halftones that they have in their library. And I think it looked pretty neat for what, for at least for my ability at the time. So hey, there's that. I don't usually work a lot with textured brushes, but these look pretty neat, so I'm excited to try them. Let's see, let's get our red, because old habits die hard. And it seems that there's already some automatic correction going on here, so it won't be like Clip Studio Paint where I have to turn on my smoothing, or Photoshop where I'll have to turn on my smoothing. It appears, to me at least, to be built into this brush from the get-go, so that's fantastic. I'm gonna pour myself some tea. And let's get into lining Belris' little noggin here. Hello, Metal Kitty 21. Welcome to my stream and my follower base. You should get chatting privileges in about 30 minutes, so you've got something to look forward to, I suppose. Okay, this looks like a good size, so let's dig in. So basically the basics about Belris is she is a halfling rogue. I think she was either neutral good or lawful good, and if she's lawful good, she will be so in the beginning and then gradually become more neutral good. She is, as they would say, gay as hell. Halfling rogue, like I said, she's the smallest character in our campaign, and basically her deal is that she has a fiancé waiting for her at home, but her parents were like, Belris, we like you, we think you're a nice girl, but we can't let you marry our daughter until you have done something truly heroic. So that's basically what Belris is out to do something heroic so she can marry her lady. And also, you should probably know her lady is a Goliath. I haven't thought up a name for her yet. I really should have done so from the get-go. But I didn't, and I truly regret that now, so maybe later during the stream we may pull up the fantasy name generator and try to come up with a name for Belris's giant hot girlfriend. And like I said, Belris is the smallest of our party, and my friend's character is the tallest, but he is a furball, so that's not as extreme a size difference as between Belris and her fiance. She likes big ladies. I like big ladies too, so honestly, what did you expect? Okay, so I seem to keep on getting my hotkeys mixed up, so pen is B, brush is B. But like when I work in Fire Alpaca or Photoshop, there is basically no pen tool, so I still tend to press B from working in those softwares so much. So I'm trying to get these braids right. Like when I was first thinking up her design, I was really wondering if I should, like, I personally have my hair shaved up until about where this braid is, and I was like, maybe I should shave it up for Belris too, but then I was like, that would maybe be pretty hard to maintain on the road while she's traveling, so maybe it's just braided, so when it gets longer, she just takes out the braids and braids it again. I also imagine that braiding hair is something that she learned from like her fiance or something. Just some cute girl stuff like that. Cut with layer. Oh, that's Ctrl X. Oops. I meant to do Ctrl Z. So that's pretty much the basics of Belris. She is teeny tiny. Like, she's even on the not so tall end for halflings, but I'm not that tall myself, so yeah. I should have expected me to take it out on my D&D character, I suppose. I never really understood this scale for rotating the canvas. It's pretty hard to tell where 0 is supposed to be. You'd think it would be either on top or at the bottom, but no, it is not. So we are trying, or at least I'm trying to turn it back to 0. So, yeah. So that's basically the crash course on Belris's character. I did forget to mention that basically she's just a peasant daughter and she met her fiance like at the market on some beautiful spring day or whatever. Just some romantic shit like that. Like, this shit writes itself, honestly. But it's kind of weird, like usually I think in designs first, but for Belris I really had to struggle for weeks until I got something that I really liked that didn't look exactly like the halfling rogues I had on my Pinterest board for her. Like, they were just there for inspiration, not to copy anything off of. But yeah, that doesn't really happen to me that often. Let's see what this looks like without the sketch under it. Yeah, I like this. Like a pen on textured paper. I'm kind of missing the stronger correction from Fire Alpaca though, but if I just zoom out a bit further, I can just make the same movement I would there. Or a smaller movement and make bigger strands. Actually, I'm gonna change it up a bit. So yeah, basically this is just a doodle sheet. There's nothing really set in stone about this. So I'm completely fine with differing from what I sketched before. Also, if you're wondering why I didn't line the last braid yet, it's because I'm gonna do her ear first and then I'll do the braid that goes behind it. Right, zoom out, then draw that line. Okay. I'm satisfied with that. So these layers can now be collapsed. I think that would be this button. Oh yeah, that basically transfers all of the lines to the layer below. Okay, works a bit different, but I can make this work. So yeah, I think you can really tell by now that I have really not paid much minds to the inner workings. Is that the right word? Of Eclipse Studio Paint until now. And now I'm seeing that I was holding my phone slightly tilted when I took this. I have to say though, I used to scan all of my drawings, but like, since I realized that I would be doing the line work completely on the computer anyway, I figured, why put all the effort into scanning my images when I could just take a quick picture on my phone, email it to myself and be done with it in a quarter of the time and just get to finishing the drawing. Yeah, I think this chin is about right. Alrighty. I do like that I gave her these big ears. Like, I saw it in one of the mangas my brother is reading. It's a dungeon meshi. So it's not a restaurant in another world, but it's the other one. But it has a halfling character who has like enormous ears, and I thought it was really cute. And big ears actually do run in our family, so I figured, why not give Belris some absolute big flappy ears? Because it's cute. I like it. Also, I really like how different strokes completely blend into each other on this. Either I somehow gained a much more steady hand since I last drew in Fire Alpaca, or it's just these brushes basically being a gift from a higher being. For now, I'm sticking with the letter. Ooh, I don't like the turning wheel. I don't like this at all. Oh, there we go. Okay, so holding spacebar to manhandle the drawing around. Not doing that anymore. That is off limits. That is a bad idea. So now that I've done the ear, let's get to doing that final braid. And don't get me wrong though, the braids do continue behind her ear, but I'm not gonna draw those. So now to put in the hairline, take a thinner brush. Ooh, that went well. See, this is exactly what I mean by strokes completely blending into each other. Fucking fantastic. Also, this is gonna be fun later, but I haven't decided completely on a color scheme for Belris yet. Like, I do have a vague idea in my mind, but it's not completely set in stone. If I find something better than what I have in mind right now, I am gonna go with that. So, like, basically you're just getting a sneak peek of me finishing up this complete design. Okay, so that still looks like a decently sized head. Although it's kind of weird to have all these strokes of differing weights. So I'm gonna go over the ears with a bit more pressure so they better match the strokes on her hair. Because like those strokes were much more decided and I had my pen down on my tablet a bit. With a bit more pressure so the line would be a bit thicker. No, I don't want to cut, I want to commence it. Okay, so I'm doing this on completely the wrong layer. Okay. This one is for the ears and the jawline. Got you. No, B, not B. And like the reason that I'm currently doing this is because I had this poll set up on my Instagram and Twitter accounts because I had more than one sheet of sketches finished up for today, so I figured, hey, why not let my followers decide what I'm gonna do? So I was a bit cryptic and I had this poll between fantasy and tragedy, and either way I would have explored Clip Studio Paint on this stream, no matter what they would have picked. And I'm kind of glad it was fantasy, because now I get to try out Clip Studio Paint in this pretty low stakes doodle sheet. While if it had been tragedy, I would have gone with a sketch I made as an exploration, if you will, of a print of the Servant of Evil series of Vocaloid songs, which would be much more complicated. So yeah, thank you for coming through. Like, I kind of hoped it would be tragedy because that's the drawing I'm the most excited about doing, but honestly, I'm kind of glad I can now experiment in a pretty safe environment where the chances are the smallest that I will make a complete fool of myself on stream. So yeah, that's basically how we got here. Okay, so that ear is now pretty much the same weight as her hair. Her jawline is pretty much fine. But I may have been too careful on doing the braids, so I'm gonna make those a bit thicker as well. Not sure about the scalp showing though. Kind of bummed out about all of this detail getting lost now. But I do think it's in service of, you know, the greater good. This line is a bit thick though, so I'm just gonna trim it with my eraser, which is kind of a bummer because it has a straight edge. But I'll just go over it with my pen. And now it's a much more, you know, fluent, much more decided line. So that is a definite improvement. And you know what, I'm going to go in and make the scalp thicker as well. And not with my eraser, but with my pen. Also, hot tip, if you ever can't make a stroke from a certain angle, but you're pretty sure you can make from it, just turn the canvas, it's not that hard. And I say that not so much to you, the viewer, but more so to myself. because I tend to give myself very good advice and then not follow it. Like Alice in Wonderland. Okay, so now we have our head, our hair, and our scalp. So I'll definitely collapse the hair and scalp. So that's the one I was looking for. Nah, you know what? I'm not gonna keep it separate. I'm just gonna collapse all of it together, make a new layer, and start on her little face. She has this little upturned nose, and even though you can't tell yet because her mouth is closed, she has like the big, what's it called? Kyoani Moe bucktooth. Like here. It didn't work quite as well. I tried it again. Here where it worked slightly better, but I never really mastered the Keon Moe bucktooth. Which is something I kind of regret because I really like that as a design choice. I think it's pretty cute. It was pretty unique until everyone started doing it. That's the wrong flip canvas. Ovals, my worst enemy. Okay, that one is pretty much perfect, so I'm just gonna yoink. And then always have it at the same perfect height. Which actually may not be perfect since the photo is not completely straight. Hey. So I'm just gonna turn off the sketch and move around this eye until it looks right. Actually, probably nothing looks right until I put in the rest of her face. Her little freckles. Very Pippi Longstocking. Actually, I don't think that eye is too far off, but... Also, I don't like the way the line of her nose looks. It's way too thick. Her mouth too, so... I'm gonna cheat and use a slightly smaller brush for that. So I think just about 30. And also the lines of her eyes are too thick, so I have to go back in and redo that gosh dang oval. Now that is what I call an oval. Just spruce it up a bit here. Make it all nice and round. Which is ironic because it's an oval, but... Actually, I'm just gonna reposition these eyes. What am I moving here? Absolutely nothing. So basically I'm just gonna cut and paste it to a different layer. So now I can move the eyes separately. Until I think it looks right. That may be a bit too close together. Also mirror the eyes, so... Whoa! That doesn't look right. But it is exactly the same, but mirrored. But it looks so wrong. just straighten it out a bit. That's better. Come on, what are you loading? Oh no. I keep getting paranoid when the screen is going black, but it's I think just Clip Studio Paint auto-saving? Okay, so this is definitely too close together, so let's put the eyes a bit further apart. That's better. I think this is decent. I'll just keep the eyes on a separate layer until I'm completely satisfied. I may see something later that makes me think, should have done that differently, so... Okay, let's work our way down from here. Also, I kind of like to think that Belris' fiancé did the braids in her hair, like the day before she left on her grand adventure or something. Just something sweet like that, because, hey, romance isn't dead, it's just sleeping. You know what? I might design some nice clasps for her vest later. It's missing that kind of little bit of oomph. I'm beginning to think my hand is not quite as steady as it was. Or that my brush or pen isn't correcting as much as I thought it would be. But you know what, it's fine. It's good practice. One of these days I'm bound to get this line right. This is fine. So, I'll do these laces. Not on the wrong layer, I hope. I'm just gonna real quick. So glad that everything automatically pastes in place in this app, like, gosh. Okay, so then this goes on to this, and then I have these left over to do the laces, and I'm not sure I'm gonna do a fill for them, just have them be black laces for now. I may give them a fill later. Alrighty, so on to the shoulders. Like, she is wearing a poofy... Hello, Metal Kitty 21! Nice to have you join our chat. And thank you for following earlier. Like, you may have seen these shirts around on pirates and other, like, what would it be, 17th, 18th century characters? Usually men, but you know, the poofy sweaters with the half open cleavage, like the good shit. Except, I don't know, I don't know why I didn't design Belris with a half open cleavage, honestly. But I think she's pretty cute, and this sleeve on this side should be poofier, like kind of as poofy as this one. But I was kind of sleepy when I drew the original sketch, but I think you can tell by now. So yeah. Nope, pen. I keep going back to the brush tool, because that's what I would do in Photoshop, or Fire Alpaca, or even Paint Tool Sai at some points. D&D drags you in, yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Like, I really wasn't sure about this when my friend first asked me to join her campaign. Or at least she was trying to set up a campaign with a bunch of friends, and none of us had played D&D before except for her. But honestly, I have to say, I am having a ball so far, so that's good. And it's nice to meet fellow D&D enjoyers, I have to say. I'm glad I'm not the only one with a short lesbian rogue. No, yeah. Like, I was looking for inspiration for this design on Pinterest, and I found that there were very few teeny rogues. Or at least teeny female rogues, and from the design, of course, I couldn't guess they were lesbian or not, but hey. This one is. Because I said so. Also, I have no idea how to do the creases in this sleeve yet, but I'm gonna leave that for later. It might hit me in a moment. Also, I have no idea if this makes any sense for like a wrist brace, but I'm gonna pretend that it does. And I'm also not entirely sure my line work is of a consistent weight right now, but so far so good. The wrist seems to be getting thinner, so I should go over that once more with more pressure on it. So here goes. Worked all my life to get my line work thinner, and here we go, thickening it up. All my life is like an exaggeration, but at least half of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. Like, the reason I'm counting fingers is like last year I got really into DuckTales, so I got into the habit of drawing characters with only 3 fingers. So now I have to get back into the habit of drawing characters with 4 fingers. And like last time, recently I did a series of magical girl characters, and I wasn't consistent with the number of fingers there, so I'm planning on getting my finger amount consistent once more. Like, even though Belris is rather small, I am planning to give her 5 fingers and the rest all present and correct. So yeah, no more 3-finger bullshitting unless I'm drawing ducks. Okay, so this is great so far. No, that's the wrong one. This one, I should take these off, because those are in the background and this strand is in the foreground. Actually, I'm not that dissatisfied with that hand, were it not that her other hand is ginormous compared to this one, but I'll sketch that one out and make it smaller in post. Or at least this is post. I've gotten really into the habit of fixing things in post-production, but hey. Like, sure, I finish my sketches in ink, but that doesn't mean whatever's in there is set in stone. I can still change everything later. Like, the only reason I finish my sketches in ink is so that they show up properly when I take a picture of them. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter if it makes sense as long as it looks good. At least for me, like, I'm not really a professional artist or whatever. Like, sure, I make products of the things that I draw and I sell them at conventions, but like, it's not my bread and butter. It's not what I earn a living off of. That's my day job. But so yeah, it doesn't really matter to me if things make sense. It just matters if it's pretty or not. So here goes. Like, sure, my character sheet said that I had to set a definite height for Belris, but she's as tiny as my art needs her to be. Like, she is not this tiny as I draw her here, but it's way cuter for her to stand on his shoulders than to sit on his shoulders, so Yeah, that's why I sometimes draw her way tinier than she really is. Or sometimes a little bigger, but that doesn't happen that often. Can't wait for April since I get a 2-week break from school and my number of drawings is gonna skyrocket. Good luck on that! Like, honestly, I do kind of miss the energy I had when I was like 16 and I drew complete comics during the summers. Like, the amount of progress I made back then and the amount of the sheer amount of art I churned out at that stage, I was like possessed or something. I don't know what made it possible for me to do those things, but I don't think I'll ever get back to that stamina, but I'm not sure I'll have to. I'm just here to have fun. Oops, that's B, not B. Okay, so here I did this correct and here didn't so much here. Like, her back continues behind her shoulders, so that her chest area should start just about here, not where I originally drew the line. So, okay, yeah, I guess I do care a little bit if things make sense. But sometimes things making sense do matter in how pretty things turn out to be or not. I have an OC for a show I got into recently and I want to draw them, but I just don't have the time since school is stressful and a bitch. I feel you. And I can only encourage you to hold out just a little bit longer. Like, holidays are few and far between, but it's always great when you do get there. That's probably the biggest thing I had to get used to when I graduated college. Like, there is no longer a mandated set of holidays that you get to have in a year. Like, you have to look after your days off yourself and just tell your boss, hey, I'm not gonna be in on this and this date. And that's gonna have to be fine. But you know, it's also pretty nice to be able to, what's it called? Plan your own holidays. Whoa, this eye is so off right now. Okay. No, oops, wrong layer. It should be further to the left. Still not super satisfied with the position of her eyes. Like, logically, if her mouth continued as far here, it should be further to the right. Because, like, your eyes are, like, at the corner of your mouth-ish. And, like, her smile is crooking up here, so if you would continue that here, her eye should be here, so it should be further to the left. It's her eyebrow. But her eyebrow is her eyebrow collapsed with the rest of her head? It is. Okay, so I may have made myself a bit of trouble. But we are gonna cheat our way out of it. Because we're gonna select that and then move it further in, and then her eye will probably feel better. Shame I have to commit it first. Yeah, it's definitely improvement on what it was before. So that is the split of her vest. And I may make some nice designish clasps to keep it closed, but for now pretend it's a mechanism on the inside. So I'll save her bow for later, so let's get started on the belts. Like, normally the belt would of course hold her elven or elvish either of the two rapiers, but since I imagine those are incredibly ornate and I didn't have those before I started this sketch, or at least until after I started this sketch, I decided not to include them later, so maybe if I make some drawings of her later, I may actually put into the put in the extra effort to draw some elvish rapiers, but not today. Not today. Ah, welcome, kitty. I hope she's a good kitty. Burring up a storm. She's also very soggy. I'm almost kind of scared to ask how that happened. Because British weather, of course. Not that Dutch weather is much better, but I do feel that. Let's just pretend this is somewhat crooked. Basically, this is just drawing ovals to Electric Boogaloo, because I suck at drawing ovals. But I suck even harder at drawing circles. Okay, I'll take it. This looks fine. So then the other ringlets. There we go. Finding the right layer is always a nightmare. Seriously, how many layers do I have? Oh, there it is. Okay, so now I'm gonna take care of that left hand, our right hand. So I'm gonna take a quick measurement of her wrist brace here. Okay, so her wrist should be way less thick and shorter, and obviously her hand should be smaller. So what I'm gonna do, just a quick cheat, is I am going to line the hand as it is with a thicker brush. So when I scale it down, the lines will be the same thickness as the other lines. Hopefully, fingers crossed. At least I think it will be. It's kind of touch and go, but also not the best hand I've drawn, but also not the worst. Probably not such a good hand because all of the fingers are the same length. Me casually checking the length of my own fingers. There we go. I think this is a perfectly acceptable hand. Now if only her fiancé's parents would accept her taking their daughter's hand in marriage. That sounded a lot better in my head. Anyway, wrist brace. Size 50 brush. Actually, why not just... paste on a different layer. Just quickly lop off these. Get my pen. Alrighty. And we'll just move it. That is extremely poofy though. And also your wrist is thinner when you look at it from this compared to this, so it's not entirely correct. But it does give me a good reference for how long it should be at least. So this theory is going down the drain and I'm starting a new theory on a new layer. Starting out slightly thicker and ending up slightly less thick. Meanwhile, this layer gets permanently yeeted to the Shadow Realm, and this one is going to get scaled down. Whoops, hold down Shift, yes. So far there's a slight learning curve at figuring out Clip Studio Paint as compared to Photoshop and comparable software, but so far I also really like what it has to offer. And also, like I thought, yes, I don't need any email notification. And go away. Okay, so that wrist is still too thick. Dang it. Okay, so that one. Slightly blood curdling here. Trying not to get any leftover pixels. Although, honestly, there's not that high stakes because this isn't gonna be merch anyway. Alright, so I am pretty satisfied with how that turned out. Her wrist appears to be the right width, and her hand appears to be the right size, so that's good. So let's get back our sketch and go down to her legs. Now, my friend who does speed drawings for our campaign readapted my design in her own style and made her pants a bit wider, and I actually quite like that, so that's what we're gonna do. I already drew that slightly here. So they are no longer following the shape of her thighs like that. They are like this, and then the inside of her thigh remains the same. And so there's gonna be a slight indent in her trousers where her dagger holster thing wraps around her thigh as well. So yeah, basically I usually kind of like it when my friends sometimes draw my own characters, because sometimes it gives me certain insights that I hadn't thought of before, some new perspectives. So that's pretty great. Also, the same friend who does the speed drawings for our campaigns is the one who plays as this character here, Aspen. And I have a reference picture of him open on my other screen, and I did not quite do him justice, but I will, in the end, in the long run. Actually, there's a strap here for her shin braces, leg braces, so I should probably try this again. So we do have a slight indent here because that's where her knee is. And then her trousers flare out again, and then there's the indent for the shin braces. So we'll do that here as well. That's a nice interruption of the silhouette. Makes her a bit easier to read. And then, like I said, I'll save her bow for last. I also didn't draw her with a quiver, which is highly impractical, because if you have a bow, you're gonna wanna have arrows. That last bit is gonna be strong as hell when I get to it. But that's a problem for future me. Feet is always the hardest thing to draw. I used to think it was hands, but boy was I wrong. Okay, so that was all on the same layer. That is a bit risky, but I mean, it worked out. Just try and keep these lines parallel. Okay, so there we go. Now for her little dagger. Alright, so the ends of her bow are slightly ornate, but not too much, just a little swirly thing. Okay, not very happy with how that swirl ended up, so I'm gonna erase it. And actually, copy, paste, transform, turn, -100 should, there we go. Mirror it. So now I'm just going to tilt this until it looks like a single bow basically. And I think it does right about now. So I'm gonna erase all of my excess bow on both layers. And then I'm gonna take my pen, put a single dot there. Whoa, that snare is way too thick. This may be way too thin, but you never know. That's not quite it either. 15 maybe? Yeah, that's fine. So now we have our character with bow. What is up with her face? Technically, I think it's the lines that are too thin. So I'm just gonna go over them again to make it all a bit more cohesive. No, that's not working. This does help, but it's still not solving everything. You know what, I'll just save it, it may hit me later. So I'm gonna put all of this in a single folder. And I'll call it full body ref. So where is my opacity lock? So I'm gonna take 80% black, I think, yeah, that looks about right. And then I'm basically gonna go over my entire drawing with that, because I found recently that I find black to be just a smidge too intense, and like a really dark grey for the lines just give the art that little bit more softness that I tend to look for. So that's how I basically achieve that, just lighter colors. And that's also why I do my line work with such intense colors, because then I can usually tell if I've already made them the correct color or not, because sometimes I do my line art in a darker shade of the color that fills the line art, if that makes sense. But since I don't have those colors yet, dark grey it is. I might switch later, but we'll see. And that's what happens when you don't turn on your opacity lock. So that is drawing number 1. Let's see if I can make another folder. Yes, I can. Lines. And put the line work under that so I can put the colors in the same folder later. So now basically we'll get to the fun little sketches that should serve as some frame of reference for her expressions. Basically, I've kept it a bit, you know, like chibis in anime and manga, so they're a bit more, what's it called? Exaggerated? Like there was this bit in our campaign where we ran into an old man and his dog, and Belris's first reaction was to run in and pet the dog. And like the rest of the campaign was pretty suspicious of the guy, so they decided to interrogate his dog because our druid can talk to animals, but then the things, like the dog was basically very excited and not very smart, so our druid immediately felt not great about listening to that dog's thoughts because it was dog stuff. And then at some point, Belris threw a ball into the woods and the dog ran after it. And then the old man panicked and ran after the dog and we never saw them again. Oops. Like, the thing about Belris being basically a peasant girl is that she is so naive. And sometimes it kind of hurts the player that way because I will not trust a character, but then Belris has to trust that character because she is gullible as hell. So yeah. But then I also can't be like to my fellow players like, hey, just out of character real quick, but I don't trust this guy. But I can't really do that because that would be influencing possibly the other players' characters, and that doesn't entirely feel fair. I'm still trying to work out the ethics of playing Dungeons and Dragons. Also, this little cowlick is not doing me any favors right now. And either these thick lines are gonna be pretty cute on her, or it's gonna go completely the other way, and it's gonna look like shit. But as always, we won't know until we finish. Actually, is there a symmetry tool in Clip Studio Paint? Because I could use it right about now. You know what? I'll just figure it out. I'll just turn it slightly until she's up straight. And it was not by a long shot that it was off, but off all the same. And once again, I am just going to straight up copy this eye and use it for the next one. I should probably finish up the top though. Like right now, if I have to pro-con this whole Fire Alpaca Clip Studio Paint thing, I would have to say this. The fact that I can mirror stuff in Clip Studio Paint is definitely a huge plus. The fact that I can't find the symmetry tool, if there is any, is a definite gone. Because then I wouldn't even have to use or have to copy and mirror what's already there, because it would be there immediately. But hey, we're exploring, we're figuring things out, so it's fine if I don't get everything right on the first try. Also, I don't like that these two lines are touching. But I also can't really help it because that cowlick is part of her design. Maybe if I move it, it'll still intersect with the rest of her bangs, but maybe it won't be as bad. Then it should technically be here, because like this is where her cheekbone would go, jawline. Also, by the way, it turns out our campaign was paranoid about that guy for absolutely no reason. The old guy and his dog, that is. He was harmless. But there was no way for us to know that, so better safe than sorry. Especially after we trusted a guy that turned out to have murdered our druid's entire village. Or so it turned out. We had no idea of that at the time. If we had, we wouldn't have trusted him in the first place, of course. Also, this curve was way too overstated in the original sketch. Like, I'm still making it, but I'm making it less pronounced. There we go, with the Moe bucktooth. Okay, so new layer for the hairline and the scalp. Meanwhile, I'm doing a weird little stretchy dance. Alrighty, so now all left to do is a pair of hands. She said as though that was easy. Do we have a duplicate layer button? No. So we're going with Command A, C, and V. And then Command T. Wait, that's too much. Selection too big. So then again on the width axis minus 100, and so we have one perfectly mirrored hand. And now I see my original drawing wasn't too far off. Oh, these hands should have thumbs. They would be about at the top knuckle of the index finger. And her hand is in front of her hair, so that should be erased. Okay, so I'm just adding these eyelashes just because it's cute. And it has big looking at a cute dog energy. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Before I start on the next one, I kind of wanna look for a color palette to use for her. So I'm gonna look up a website. Coolers. That was it. Sure, I'll take the cookie. This isn't my browser for personal use anyway, so explore trending palettes. Let's see if we see something we like. I do want something with brown and green, so I'll open this in another tab. Ooh, this is very pearl. That's very sapphire. I also kind of like this one for the same reasons, but I'm not entirely sure that's gonna turn out to be it. I also kind of like this one. This one basically comes with built-in skin tone, which is nice. This has a bit more reddish. So far we have these palettes. Slightly dimmed colors, not very saturated, which is, you know, fine for a fantasy setting. Not everything has to be bright, but I do like things to be bright. This is definitely brighter, and it has a lot of colors to pick from. Not that I need that many colors, but it's nice to have some variations of colors so I can do a bit more detailed shading, because I do want this to be a bit more painterly than the last few drawings I did, which were flat colors ostensibly. So this palette is going down the trash. I do like how vibrant this one is, but like I said, it doesn't have doesn't have a lot of color nuances, and the reason I kind of do want those is because I'm very bad at picking colors together by myself. I am fine matching existing colors, but I can't really pick colors for myself. And I like that this one is a bit more reddish, because I was thinking about making Belris a bit more ginger, but I wasn't sure, so this one's out as well. So it's between these two now. But I can already tell that these are probably going to work really well together, so I may just use colors from both of these. We'll see if it works. So I'm gonna put my palette back here, and I'm going back to my full body. Add a new layer, and let's call it color. So let's get cracking. I do like this kind of dark brown, but I want to try her hair ginger first. So do I want the hexadecimal colors, or do I want CMYK? You know what? I'll take the hex colors, because I'll basically just have to copy paste it. Copy paste one thing. So back to hex. Copy to clipboard. Make a layer. And let's call it hair. So let's see what we have under our brushes. We have an opaque watercolor, a transparent watercolor, dense and smooth. Paint and apply, running color edge watercolor. Then we have oil pastels. And we have India ink. Do we have anything else? No. It's just those three. Let's just try the opaque. Real smart move not to insert my color. Okay. Not super loving this. Maybe for when I do the shading, then that could actually come in handy. Dense watercolor is pretty nice. It is better than what I had before. So I'm gonna grab a smaller brush and we're gonna get into it. I'm not sure if this is very effective for what I wanted, because I could basically conceivably just paint bucket my way out of this, like I would normally do in Photoshop. Let's see, selection, expand selected area by 4 pixels, which is what I normally use. Go to color, no, not gradient, refer only to editing layer. Alright, so then what I would do now is go in and then use the brush like I just did and do the bits in between. For convenience's sake though, I'll just select the bits where I would have to blend her hair color with her skin tone. So then I could use the opaque watercolor with a way smaller brush and just have the ginger get more dense towards the edges. Because when your hair is braided that tightly, your scalp is gonna show on the parts. So far so good. I'm just gonna open up an older drawing real quick so I can pick off this skin tone, because neither palette had one. You know what, I might as well just use my Meet the Artist. At least that hotkey is the same. So I'll refer to my lines folder, take my magic wand, and I'll just kind of select all of the bits that would have her skin tone on it. Then I could also go in with the selection pen and get these bits as well. Actually, I might as well just connect them. So it goes in one fell swoop when I use my, what is it called again? I can't remember the word. Paint bucket tool, that's it. And I'm going to do that behind my hair layer, so it won't show up on these bits. Didn't connect those too well. Oh shit, wrong layer, that's why. Whoops. No, I forgot to expand my Selection. So selection, expand area, 4 pixels. And that may be too big on some bits, but honestly I don't care. Because I can just erase it from those bits. Like here. And now it's gone. So let's see, what color should... Well, her shirt should be this cream color, I think. So let's take care of that first. That's better. Alright. So let's see, which color should her vest be? I'm personally thinking this dark green, or maybe this dark green. Or maybe this for the vest and then this for the braces. And this for the boot, I think. Let's just try it out. We can always change it later. Oh, I didn't select that. Go figure. And then the straps can be the same color as well, I think. And you know what? Same for the thigh holster. And then the belt can be brown later. So let's make another layer. And expand our selection. Wrong green. Or was it? Yeah, it was. No, I forgot that one. I'm kind of liking this color scheme so far. Even if the hair is from another palette. And the shirt too, but... And then maybe these... I'm thinking this light brownish for the trousers. We'll see how that goes in just a bit. Yes. Like, I really don't think the color was going to make such a difference, but it really does a lot for experience. So now I'm going to take this dark brown for the belt and boots. Also, don't ask me where they got green leather. I mean, dragons are a thing, so I guess there. And I'm going to mix a slightly darker version of this brown for the soles of the boots. Like, I know I can't pick colors together, but at least I can edit them. Okay, so that changes nothing, so that's the color for the soles. And then I'm gonna use that color for the holes in the belt as well. Alright, so pretty much every part of Belris has been colored now, except for her eyes, her bow, her belt buckle, and her dagger. I have a nice color for the bow. I think this would be nice. Or did I already... I used that on her trousers, so I'm gonna use this for the bow. It's kind of nice to have every part of her costume that's a different part of her costume, at least in a different color. At least I think. And then for the buckle I'd like, I think, a silverish color, so that would be a light gray. So I'll take all of these down to 0, except for black, because that's gonna be like 50 or so, with a bit of magenta and yellow thrown in to give it that slightly aged look. And you know what? I'm just gonna go in and use that color for the dagger as well. It's nothing fancy. Or this one is gonna be the green because that's the scabbard. Okay, so now all that's left is her eyes. And I think I like this mossy green for that. I was glad I saved it. I was planning to go for an old painterly feel, but I don't think I'm gonna make it that far tonight because it is already just past midnight. But it's nice to have all these colors picked out for now at least. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go on just a bit longer anyway. So I'd like her cheeks to be like kind of rosy. I think this is a nice. So then I would use the opaque watercolor probably. Set it to 50. Oh yeah, that is not blending at all. So to blend it I would probably have to do it directly into the layer, which I'm not super stoked about. But that's how paint works, unfortunately, and since that's how paint works, that's also how Clip Studio Paint works. The difference is almost imperceptible. But this is too perceptible. Maybe if I start with the dense first. Maybe outline it a bit and then I'll take the smooth. No, that's still too much. Ah, the transparent watercolor seems to be doing something. And then I can use the smooth watercolor to smooth everything out just a little bit. And then I would have to go in for the shading, which I'm not stoked about, as I said before. Let's see. The blue can stay where it is. Magenta can go up to about 50 and then 50. That may be a bit much actually, so I'll take it down to 35 and 35. Yeah, that's better. But what I will do is turn on my opacity lock, so... And I'll pick up bigger. I don't really see that much of a difference. This difference I do see. But it also replaces the blush that was already there, and I don't want that, so new layer, clipping mask. So then basically I'll just blend these gosh dang colors myself. Also, as always, I'm just guessing with these light sources. I'm pretty much just doing whatever. My guess is as good as yours. So yeah, I kind of like this so far. Let's go in with the hair though. With a new layer as a clipping mask. Let's see what I have to work with here. almost 50 blue. Okay, so this is going up to 57, 93, 126. So I still have this rusty red color. Let's get these nice and smooth gradients. And now we're gonna do the fun stuff and get some highlights. So for this I'm gonna do basically minus 30 of everything and maybe more. So 57 minus 30 is 27, is 63, is 70, is 0. Yeah. Just a slightly smaller one. Another new layer, another new clipping mask. And then just blend the hell out of these. Like, I don't think painterly is the right word for this, but it's definitely doing something. It's definitely rounding things out and making them not so flat anymore. And actually, let's just real quick. 57, 93, 126. Don't ask me how I remember this. We're gonna go to our lines. Okay. And then we'll take our pen, which is set to way too big. And I'm just gonna go in and recolor the lines related to her hair as rusty red. Oh yeah, this is better. So now I'll take my skin tone. So this is gonna stay where it is. This is gonna be plus 30 is 56, 56. And you know what? 34. I am so digging this. The only thing I don't super love is that this pen tool has kind of frayed ends. But I can make it work. I really like the extra dimension these colors add. So we are gonna continue right on with it. 35, 39, 42, and 0. Okay, so basically what I'm gonna do is I'm going to finish up coloring the lines of this full body shot, and after that I'm going to be calling it a night because I am getting tired. Like you've probably noticed by now that I'm not as talkative as I was before, before, because it's literally becoming harder for me to string words together in a foreign language, if you don't mind very much. That matches up nicely. So now harvests. Plus 30 is 1.5, but we can only go to 100, so it's 94. It's also 100, and that is 65. So that's basically super dark green. Actually, I'm thinking of using this shade of green for the bracers as well. Because so much of the green, or the blue and the yellow were already at 100%, so I can make this green much more greener. Okay, now for the belts is 89, 100, 174. You know, what I really like about the way this is looking right now is it reminds me of the way I used to finish my drawings back in uni, because I would always used to in Paint Tool Sai. Oh man, I barely can tell the difference between the green and the brown. Wait, is it even brown? It's nearly black. Anyway, I used to finish up my drawings by coloring the line art in darker shades of the colors I had already used in the arts, in the flat colors of the drawing itself. So that kind of really reminds me of the way I did it then, but then my art has really improved since then, so it definitely looks like a better version of it. Like, I could never reproduce what I did with those Paint Tool Sai brushes in Photoshop or with Fire Alpaca, so I'm kind of glad that I managed to do it in Clip Studio Paint. 74, 68, 68, 67, yeah, that's about right. Oh, that's barely any different, so I'll just keep that the same then. $74, 78, 94. So yeah, the style, at least in terms of coloring, is something that I'm already pretty familiar with and that I know that I like. Obviously, back in uni, the Hergé eyes, the little ovals, weren't something I did. That's came later on the timeline. But I do really like them. Like, they give it a bit more of a cartoony, just a cartoony vibe. And not the very anime, I'm somehow going to make it as a manga artist style. Which I was way too hopeful of in uni. Okay, so boots. Actually, I'll just take the color of the sole for the boots. And then make a new color for the soles. So let's add another 30 to this, so this becomes 93, or 96, I guess. And it becomes 100s. This becomes 100s. And this becomes 90, so that's also pretty much just black. So here we go, all that's left to do is the bow, which is way at the bottom of the lines, but I'm gonna have to move to the top because the bowstring is across her chest, so obviously that needs to be on top. Let's make it 79, 94, 100s, and 37. Yeah. Oh shit, her eyes. Forgot those. Little beepers. $97, 83, 100s, and 40. So that's our shade of Belris for now. Of course, next week we will continue on doing the rest, so we'll finish up this one, we'll finish this one with Aspen, and we'll finish this cute one from our last session where Belris got a letter from her fiance and was very happy to read it because it's her darling and she loves her. My art streams are every Saturday at 10 p.m. Central European Time. And yeah, like I said, we will be finishing these up next week on Saturday. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. You can join me if you like. If you don't have to join me. So yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna go to bed, so good night everyone.